I never thought I'd be that guy who gets blindsided the way I did, but honestly I was stupid for not seeing the signs earlier. My name's Jake, and I've been with my wife Emily for about 5 years now. We met in college, hit it off pretty quickly, and everything seemed perfect, or at least that's what I told myself. She was smart, pretty, ambitious, and a little bitchy sometimes, but that was just Emily being Emily. Still, I never doubted that she loved me, or so I thought. We were planning our wedding, everything was supposed to be so perfect. And honestly, I was happy, until I started noticing tiny things that didn't add up. She'd be texting someone, and when I'd ask her about it, she'd brush me off, saying it was just her sister or some work thing. But her phone would buzz in her purse, and she'd quickly hide it or turn away. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid, but then she started acting weird around her best friend, Sarah. She'd get defensive when I mentioned Sarah, or would suddenly cancel plans with her without any real reason. Little things, but enough to make me feel uneasy. Then came the days when she'd be working late, claiming she had to meet clients or work on some project, but I'd find her hiding her phone under her pillow late at night, typing away. I got suspicious, especially when I saw messages from an unknown number that I couldn't see, just snippets, but enough to make me feel sick. I remember one night, I found her phone lying on the couch, and out of curiosity, I looked. There were messages from someone named Tom, talking about meeting up about their secret and how he was waiting for her. That was the first time I felt that cold knot in my stomach tighten. It was a mix of confusion and anger. Who the hell is Tom? Why is Emily texting him so secretly? I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I knew deep down that something was wrong. That feeling grew every day, but I kept everything bottled up, telling myself I was just overthinking. How could I be so stupid? I was about to get married, and here I was suspecting my wife was hiding something. But I pushed. Those thoughts aside, convincing myself I was being paranoid. Still, the inconsistency gnawed at me. I was about to be blindsided in the worst way possible, and I had no idea what was coming next. A few days later, I decided enough was enough. I couldn't keep living in this fog of doubt. So I started paying more attention, looking for concrete signs. I didn't want to accuse Emily without proof, but I needed to know the truth. One night she was out meeting Sarah, or so she said. I decided to follow her. I didn't want to be a stalker, but it felt like my only choice. I followed her car to a fancy apartment downtown, and that's when everything changed. I saw her go inside with a guy I didn't recognize at first, but then I saw his face clearly. It was Mike, Sarah's brother. My mind went blank. I'd seen him around, heard Emily mention him once or twice, but I never thought she'd do this with him. The worst part. They weren't just talking. They were holding hands, kissing, and she looked like she was melting into him. It was like watching my entire world shatter in front of my eyes. I stood there, frozen, feeling a mix of rage, betrayal, and bewilderment. How could she do this? I had trusted her, loved her, wanted to start a life with her. And now I find her sneaking around with her best friend's brother. My heart started pounding so loud I thought I'd scream. I snapped some pictures on my phone before I turned around and walked back to my car. I didn't even know what I was feeling, just this overwhelming sense that everything I believed in was a lie. When I finally got home, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, replaying what I saw, trying to comprehend what I'd just witnessed. I was furious at her for cheating, but worse, I was hurt that she lied so much. She told me she loved me, that she was excited about our future, and now I found out she'd been two-timing me with her best friend's brother for months. My mind kept circling back to that moment outside her door. I kept asking myself, how could she do this? How could she lie so easily? I was burning with so much anger I couldn't even cry. It was like my whole life was falling apart and I was just standing there helpless. I kept thinking about what to do, whether I should confront her immediately or just leave. But I knew I couldn't pretend I didn't see what I saw. That night I made a decision. I'd confront her. I knew it would be ugly, but I couldn't go on living in this false paradise anymore. I had to face her and get the truth from her own mouth. Little did I know, that was only the beginning of what was coming next. The next morning I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My stomach was in knots, but I knew I had to confront her. I didn't want to hide from the truth anymore. I called Emily, told her I needed to talk, and she was her usual bitchy self, acting like I was overreacting, saying she was just working late or nothing going on. I said I knew about Mike, about her sneaking around, about her lying to my face. She got defensive immediately, piling on excuses. "You're crazy, Jake. You don't understand our situation. It's complicated. We're just friends. He's just been there for me, that's all." She rolled her eyes, acting like I was some paranoid fool, but I wasn't buying it. I told her I wasn't going to be played for a fool anymore and I was coming over. When I got to her place, she was already furious, trying to dismiss everything. "This is bullshit, Jake. You're overreacting. You don't know what you're talking about." She was bitchy, dismissive, and desperately trying to lie her way out of it. I told her I saw her kissing Mike outside her apartment, that I had pictures, and that I was done with the lies. Her face went pale for a second, then she snapped back. "You're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. You're just jealous. Maybe you're the one cheating on me, huh?" Her reaction hit me like a slap. She was so quick to turn it around, trying to accuse me of the same thing, that it made my blood boil. That's when I realized she'd been lying so much. She'd convinced herself of her own bullshit. But I wasn't going to let her spin this anymore. I told her I wanted the truth or I was leaving, and she finally broke down a little, just enough to admit she'd been seeing Mike. But of course, she still spun it around, saying she was confused, and it didn't mean anything. I felt my chest tighten. I'd always thought she was this strong, bitchy woman who knew what she wanted, but I saw her for what she really was: a liar, a cheater, and a master manipulator. I couldn't believe I'd spent all those years with someone who could lie so easily, who could cheat on me with her best friend's brother and then try to gaslight me afterward. I was furious, crushed, and just numb all at once. I knew I had to make a choice, but I felt completely lost. That day, I realized my entire life was unraveling, and I had no idea how I was going to pick up the pieces. Over the next few days, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Mike. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought was possible. I kept replaying our last argument, her bitchy smirk, the way she dismissed everything I said, as if she didn't care that she'd just destroyed what we had. I started questioning everything: the memories, the promises, the future we'd planned. But what really made my blood boil was realizing that she had been lying for months. I found out she'd been in contact with Mike even before we got engaged, probably right after she met him through her best friend Sarah. And it wasn't just some fling. No, she told me they'd been sleeping together on and off for months. I mean, what the hell kind of person does that? She was supposed to be my future wife, the woman I trusted with everything. And she was out there sneaking around, hiding it from me while laughing behind my back. The worst part, she kept acting like she was the victim. When I confronted her again, she threw a fit, saying I was overreacting, that I was crazy, and that I was jealous for no reason. That bitch really thought she could gaslight me into believing I was the problem. She kept insisting it was just sex, that it didn't mean anything, even though the messages clearly said otherwise. She had lied to my face so many times, I felt like I was losing my mind. I started thinking about the moment I saw her outside her apartment, how her lips had been pressed against Mike's, how she looked so at ease, so completely unbothered. That's when I realized I needed to do something drastic. I couldn't just leave, not without making her pay. I decided I'd gather everything, the messages, the photos, and I'd make her regret ever messing with me. I wasn't going to be some fool who got played for months. No, I was going to take control. So I started planning my revenge. Not some petty revenge, but something that would make her understand just how badly she'd screwed up. I knew she loved to lie and manipulate, but I wanted to show her I wasn't as stupid as she thought. I needed to make her see that her actions had consequences. I started collecting evidence, talking to some of her friends, trying to figure out her weak spots. I wanted her to realize that her own lies and betrayal were going to come crashing down on her. It was a dark place I was in, but I knew I had to be smart. I couldn't just blow everything up without a plan. I had to hit her where it hurt, but in a way she wouldn't see coming. That's when I decided I'd wait for the right moment, and when I was ready, I'd confront her with everything. No more hiding, no more pretending. I was done being the fool. I was going to make her pay for what she did, and I was going to do it on my terms. The days that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I kept everything bottled up inside, pretending to be okay while my mind raced with plans and anger. I couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I looked at her, I saw that smug look she gave me when she lied, and it made me want to scream. I'd been betrayed by my wife, the woman I loved, and her entire world was built on lies and deception. The worst part, I knew she was still lying, still hiding something, and I had to be patient to get everything out into the open. I started doing my own digging in earnest. I found a way to access her phone records, her emails, and even some of her social media accounts. I wanted to be sure of everything, every secret rendezvous, every lie she'd told. I wasn't just angry, I was hurt. Deep down, I'd always believed she was different, that she was special. Turns out, she had been living a double life, and I was just the fool who got played. One night, I finally found the smoking gun, the list of messages between her and Mike, the dates, the times, the explicit exchanges. It confirmed everything I suspected. They'd been sleeping together, hiding it from me for months. I felt sick. All those nights I spent trying to make sense of her strange behavior, all those moments I brushed off the gut feeling I was blind. I'd been so blind. That's when I knew I couldn't just confront her and expect anything different. I had to do something bigger. I wanted her to feel what I was feeling: heartbreak, anger, humiliation. I decided I'd ruin her in her own game. I'd make sure she understood she'd lost the person she was supposed to love, the person who trusted her the most. I couldn't let her get away with this, not without giving her a taste of her own medicine. So I planned my move carefully. I set up a scene, made sure I had all the evidence laid out. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, that I had proof. And when the time was right, I was going to confront her with it all, publicly, painfully. I wanted her to see the damage she'd done, to understand how much she'd hurt me, how much I'd suffered while she was out there fucking around behind my back. It was a dark, angry place I was in. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. But I also knew I had to be calm. I had to be strategic. This was her moment of reckoning, and I was going to make sure she paid the price for her lies and her betrayal. I was done being the fool. Now all I could do was wait for the right moment to strike, to finally make her see that her actions had consequences. And when I did, she wouldn't be able to deny what she'd done. The day finally came, when I decided enough was enough. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, not anymore. I'd gathered enough evidence, enough pain, to confront her once and for all. I knew she'd be expecting me to come in angry, maybe even begging her to tell me it wasn't true. But I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. I wanted her to understand the full scope of what she'd done, how deeply she'd betrayed me. I called her to meet at that same apartment, her place, where everything had started to unravel. When she opened the door, she looked surprised, maybe even a little smug, thinking she could still manipulate the situation. But I was calm, shaking inside, yes, but in control. I laid out everything I'd uncovered, the messages, the photos, the timeline. I even played the screenshots I'd saved. Her face went from confident to pale in seconds. She tried to deny it, of course. "Jake, I don't know what you're talking about. This is all a misunderstanding," she stammered, but I cut her off. I told her I knew about her sneaking around with her best friend's brother, that I knew how she'd been lying to me for months. Her bitchy attitude turned into anger, then desperation. She snapped, calling me crazy and accusing me of spying on her, of trying to ruin her life. But I didn't care. I had what I needed. At that moment, I realized I couldn't stay with her anymore. I told her to pack her things and leave, that she was no longer the woman I thought I married. She yelled, tried to manipulate me, but I was done listening. I felt a strange sense of relief, even though the pain still burned deep. I knew I had to walk away from this, from someone who could lie so easily, who could cheat and manipulate and then turn around and blame me. As she stormed out, I felt the weight lift from my shoulders, even if my heart was shattered. I spent the next few days sorting through everything. I deleted her from my life, blocked her from my phone, and started focusing on myself. I realized I'd spent too long trying to hold on to something that was long gone. That betrayal taught me a harsh lesson. Trust is fragile, and some people will lie so convincingly that you won't see the truth until it's right in front of. Looking back, I think I've come out of this stronger. I've learned to trust my instincts, to listen to that gnawing feeling in my gut. I've learned that sometimes the best revenge is walking away and rebuilding. Emily's betrayal was a punch to the gut, but it also opened my eyes. I'll never trust blindly again, but I'll also never let someone hurt me like that again. The pain will fade, but the lesson will stay with me forever. And honestly, I hope anyone else going through something similar finds the strength to walk away, no matter how much it hurts. Because in the end, you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. You just have to decide to save yourself.